What's up, everybody? This is David with Metro Jiu Jitsu. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. Just a few things before we get started. If you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to our channel. You'll get notified of our latest updates and content. If you have anything that you want to hear on our podcast, go ahead and shoot us an email, metrobjj@gmail.com. Enjoy. All right, so Coach David again, here with another Metro Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And, of course, we're here with Coach Mo. How are you, Mo?
Doing fantastic.
Awesome. So I got a feeling you're going to like these questions.
All right.
They're right up your alley. Well, you like questions anyway.
I love questions. That's how we get what we want, questions.
All right. So, sweet. Cool. How does people come in? This is almost like if we collabed a bunch of questions from people coming in and funnel them, boil them down, it comes down to these few.
Okay.
What is jiu-jitsu and how is it different than karate, Tae Kwon Do, kung fu, ishanru, whatever?
Well, of course, David, that's a really good question.
There's this running joke we have. We would get on the conversation on this conference call, and like every question we asked, no matter how simple, it's almost like she was buying time to be like, "That's a really good question. Let me get into it and get you the answer."
Yeah.
And I digress. Go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, she was. That was our lady who was helping us with our business software.
Yeah. Yep.
But it is a good question.
Yeah.
Like with no BS aside, all joking aside. Okay. So it depends who's answering this question. I feel like this is a I have to ask me the question again, David.
How does jiu-jitsu differ from other arts such as karate, Tae Kwon Do, kung fu? There's so many different arts.
Yeah.
Why jiu-jitsu? What is jiu-jitsu? Why is it different? And how is it superior?
Okay. So I'm going to try to answer this question as humbly as possible so I can educate our listeners. And I know most of them do not have a background in martial arts or jiu-jitsu, so they're not privy to some of the experience and information that we have.
Yeah.
So there are striking arts, which means you use your hands to kick and punch. And Tae Kwon Do is really, really famous for kicking. And then you have other arts that incorporate a little bit more. Like you have the Kempo, and you have, martial arts have been around for like 50 to 100 years. When they first got into this country, I think Americans, they grew like wildfire 50 years ago.
These original arts, like karate and
yes, when they,
Tae Kwon Do.
yeah, oh yeah, like this is when, the Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee era. These arts were like, Americans got their hands on them and they were like, oh my gosh, I've never seen any of this before.
Yeah.
And they even, if you've ever watched any of those old karate movies where the subtitles are in English, but it's like you could see them talk for a minute and then the subtitles would come up. So their mouth is moving. A separate person is, speaking in Chinese. It's not even that person.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, there's words popping up at the bottom. But so anyway, those fight scenes were like, they were so, looking back at them now, obviously Hollywood does a way better job today than they did back then. But so Americans, we were going crazy over it. They loved it, and they wanted a part of it. And the discipline that it takes to learn any martial arts, I think Americans really fell in love with. And we needed that, especially coming out of the baby boomers. They were much younger then. They knew they needed to kind of, find a better direction than than
Because I mean, really, what was there before? I mean, you would know. Look, I'm aging myself here, but I mean, I was born in '89. So
Yeah.
what was there before? Like before that? I mean, just bare knuckle, hard knocks. Boxing, some type of probably boxing or
boxing,
country boy wrestling.
Yeah, boxing was it.
Yeah,
Boxing and well, I mean, you were born in 1989, so you still haven't seen the Karate Kid. And I know you know who Michael Jackson is, but I don't think you know who Gloria Estefan is, do you?
No.
You do not know who Gloria Estefan is.
Literally, I mean, I don't know the name. I don't.
Oh
I don't know.
That is so bad.
Martial
David.
artist, entertainer.
No.
Gloria. I mean, she sounds like a singer.
She was in Michael Jackson's era.
Okay.
And if she's as big in some parts of the world as almost maybe not as big as Michael Jackson, but everybody knows who she is.
Okay.
Anyway.
I might have to Google it now. I'm gonna go listen to Gloria.
Yeah, David, we got a lot of work to do. We got to teach you some more life experience.
I'm an uncultured swine here. I'll have to educate myself.
So going back to the differences of the martial arts for the average person who doesn't know much is so it grew really, really fast, and so some are kicking, some are punching, and some are using your momentum against you. And that's what we call like judo or aikido.
Aikido.
Yeah, tall guy with the ponytail, Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
He's got some cool stuff to watch. But, I honestly think that Jiu Jitsu is probably a mix of a couple different ones because a couple different arts. You really don't kick and punch, but you use people's body weight, their leverage against them. And if you understand Jiu-Jitsu, you can actually use it standing up or on your feet. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's true, because they I tell people a lot. I guess it's close its cousin. Reading up, I forget where I was reading the history of it. It kind of started. It has roots in judo, like back in Japan. Like it was judokas. That's what they were.
Yeah.
And they were like, correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a while since I read the article, but it was they were like they were imperial protectors. Like that's what they were. And so they but they started standing. Like they didn't they didn't protect the emperor, by rolling on the ground.
Yeah.
But they weren't completely ineffective and disabled once they hit the ground.
Yeah.
I think they realized that. It's like stuff's gonna happen on the ground. I have to be prepared for that. And then they took it. Obviously, they came out, met up in Brazil, and the Gracie's kind of synonymous with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. They perfected it from there, and then brought it to the States, and Hoist and UFC 1 and 2 introduced us to it.
Yeah.
So, but you can, it's absolutely a stand-up game, and so it doesn't, it's both. And I think that a lot of people, that's probably a good way to answer that too, is they don't realize that you're not just waiting for the guy to punch you and hope he follows up so that you can triangle him. That's a good point.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that you could learn for the new people listening, one of the biggest things, and it's critical in all martial arts, is distance.
Yes.
Distance.
Absolutely.
Because you literally. The next time you have a wet towel or even a blanket in your possession, look at it and set it on something. And when you're kicking and punching, you got to take away space from a person to make sure you're able to attack them with your fist, with your foot, or even a stick if you ever had to use it to defend yourself. But in Jiu-Jitsu, really, really teaches you the distance and how to cover the distance to get closer or actually move away from somebody, and where the safety point is and where it's not.
Yeah.
So it actually teaches you how to execute punches and kicks and defend against them by learning on how to manage your distance and awareness.
Yeah, that is huge. And I found myself, I found myself just a byproduct of training. Just it's like a natural. It's almost like Jason Bourne-esque. You know, he has these skills. And he doesn't remember why. I know I don't really like to turn my back to people. You know, like I like to situational awareness. It all comes with it. So, but that's absolutely the distance. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. That's a good answer. Well, it plays right into this. So from the outside looking in, it's been said and maybe even mocked that jiu-jitsu is not practical. It's ineffective. Especially sport jiu-jitsu, it's not practical. In short, it just won't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
What's your answer? What's your response?
Oh man. And these questions are coming in from people who do not understand it, who've never been on a mat, training with somebody, feeling what an actual move looks like. So I'm going to answer it being sensitive to them, and hopefully that they could get a better idea. So you really have to feel it to understand it. And
totally agree.
Yeah,
totally.
And I'm just trying to think of if you've ever been in really ice freezing water. If you've gone in ice water by accident, it's not something that you could ever explain to somebody. You really have to feel it.
Yeah.
And conversely, I'm trying to think about what you need to feel in order to understand how it works.
Well, even just the analogy of it's probably used a lot, but it's swimming or drowning.
Yeah.
Like you're moving a lot.
Yeah.
You're moving a lot of movement.
Common. Yeah.
A lot of movement, but you're still drowning.
Yeah.
And that's a really good analogy.
Yeah. Maybe this might be helpful to some people. If at any point somebody's ever been to a gun range, and then you're at like 25 feet or something, and you're shooting your gun, and you're either maybe you go with somebody or somebody's next to you, and they're shooting at the same range, but all their bullets are like dead on. They're right where they're supposed to be. That's seeing it. That's really getting a see and feel of what somebody with way higher technique feels. So, someone who's shooting a gun, we go to the gun range to practice kind of for self-defense or whatever. You and I go out there and shoot a gun, and, I might need to move it in a couple feet to hit that bullseye. But that person who's at 25 feet and who can nail it like bullseye every single time.
Quick draw, 10 rounds to the chest.
Yeah. So when you're shooting right next to that person and you can see how way more efficient he is, maybe that might be a way for other people to understand that that martial arts, and specifically this jiu-jitsu, is going to be effective when you actually feel it. And you should go down to your local gym and just ask that question. Say, I just want to feel jiu-jitsu. I just kind of want to feel what it feels like because someone told me you got to feel it to understand how it works. Just don't say that. Don't challenge the instructor.
Don't walk in and be like, hey, professor, I don't believe it. Yeah, no, just say, hey, you know what? To me, it seems like it seems a little impractical. Someone's on the ground. I don't see how they could come back from that. I just want to try it out, and that's definitely go in there respectfully.
And you know what? Like, you don't have to get let's be clear for our listeners. You don't have to get you don't have to get beat up. And get an ass whooping to actually see that it works. There's a difference between getting an ass whooping and actually getting a lesson to see how your body feels in certain positions that you really can't do anything about.
We had it was a really strange thing. I don't even know if I told you. One of the so we have one of our white belts. He's I don't know. He's like probably 260, maybe. I'm guessing 250, 260, and somehow came up like
it got mentioned that they're like, I don't think that, I mean, but how is someone like Dave going to handle himself against someone like that much bigger? And so we rolled, and
Dave,
me,
okay.
they're like and so we rolled, and it wasn't like an aggressive thing, like because with guys like that, like with guys that big, especially that lower rank, like it's just you just almost have to wait 2 minutes, and they'll gas themselves out, So I just did my thing for 2 or 3 minutes. They gassed out. He didn't advance and ended up triangling, and like he's like, how do you stay so calm? And that's the so you can, all that to say is the professor, someone who knows jiu-jitsu well, it's going to be like an efficient swimmer. It's going to be run of the mill. He's not going to have to beat you up or work real hard. He could just show you you're going to be working, and he's going to be, they call it flow rolling. He's just going to flow. It's like you're almost like a father lion playing with his cub. Like there's no chance you're going to hurt him, and he's just going to show you different transitions. So
yeah, and that's really how it is when you're with somebody who's can show you how jiu-jitsu feels, because you actually, regardless of how hard you try, it actually makes your job harder and harder and harder. So
well, and somebody
be a little cub and relax.
Somebody told me, I'll never forget this. Like my first week of starting jiu-jitsu, he's like, he was a purple belt at the time.
Who was it?
He was a purple belt at the time. It was he owns a local school right not far from here, and he's like, the reason I love jiu-jitsu is there's no chance of a white belt coming in and catching the instructor. Zero. He's like, any other striking art, he might get a lucky tag. You might get a lucky, it's lucky something. Yeah. And like not knowing, it's literally like my first, second week, and I was like, what do you mean no chance? Like, what do you mean zero chance? And I say, I'm going to say, someone comes in with zero martial arts experience, 0% chance. Yeah. Of submitting the instructor there. Zero.
Yeah, you're right.
And so let's see, we got this one is so I'm interested in jiu-jitsu. You know what? Give me a couple months. I want to get in shape, and then I'm definitely going to sign up. Mm-hmm. How many times have you heard that? Yeah. Yeah, and so that's our next question. What would you say to someone saying that, like, I want to get started, I just got to get in shape and I'll be back, or I gotta, I want to lose 50 pounds, 60 pounds. Some of them are, they're coming in. I mean, I'm pushing over 300 pounds. Yeah. That's a young guy's sport. I'm way too big for that. What do you say to that? What do you say to them?
Well, I think when people usually find jiu-jitsu, it's because they want a physical challenge. So you go to the gym and you want a physical challenge.
That's why I started.
Yeah. People do the CrossFit because they want a physical challenge. And any martial art, really, even outside of jiu-jitsu, they want to be challenged because they know it's not easy. And, for the people who want to get in shape first, I think that I think a lot of people are really afraid of the challenge. The ones who want to get in shape first, they're afraid of the challenge because if you want a challenge, you're going to step up, and you're going to have your turn.
You know what? I was reading this. There was this quote caught me off guard. It was like, I see a lot of. I read and listen to a lot of like motivational stuff, and this guy was like, a decision without. It might have been Warren Buffett. A decision without action. Yeah. Is something, I forget how he ended it, but like you can decide on something, like I'm gonna do this. Oh, okay. When? What? Like what have you done to do that? It's like if you're gonna. It's like if you're dating someone, or you're dating a girl, and where's this relationship going? Well, we're definitely gonna get married. We're going to. Okay, what actions are we taking to get there?
I need a date. Give me a date right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So what have you done? A decision without action is I gotta look that up. But it's that really caught me.
I know what you're talking about, and that's the most important thing in setting a new goal, and very, very specifically, we're talking about health
Yeah.
and wellness. And the most important thing you could do is don't leave the sight of setting a goal without taking action. And that action could mean scheduling a visit, making a call, doing something, moving you in the direction of whatever that goal is.
Whatever it is. I mean, because it's like so many times. It's like a lot of times. Yeah, there. To be fair, there might be times where it's like this decision requires some dwelling on.
Yeah.
But more often than not, we just don't want to. We're humans. We don't like change.
Yeah.
You know, we like things the way they are, and we don't like them to change. So.
You know, I think that for our listeners that are thinking about starting jiu-jitsu, but they want to get in shape first, I think maybe a better way to approach it would be is don't commit to signing up. Don't commit to liking it or not liking it. Just go check it out. And, you know, there's something called rolling, which where you actually do some, it's going to look like wrestling or a little bit of sparring between opponents.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a really good way to approach it for new people entering into this industry is go out and feel it. Go out and just put a uniform on, and before you commit to getting in shape, let's just see how it feels.
Give it a fair chance. You have to absolutely give it a fair chance.
Yeah.
And I would say come in with that, because we've all done things like you've made up before you go to a movie or you listen. You've made up your mind before you even step foot in there that it's going to be one way or the other.
Yeah.
Whether it's food, whether you make up your mind. I can't do this. If you walk into the building saying there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this, you've kind of already made it. You're coming in with a bias. So just come in with an open mind, and yeah, I think that's huge.
And I wish I could say that there's like I used to think about when I was growing up. I was the guy who was always matching up with the biggest guy on the court in basketball. I was the scrappy one.
Okay, all right.
And then in football, I was the truck. I used to say, hop on the bus, you're going for a ride. If I got the ball and I was running down the field, I wasn't going down. And that's what kind of athlete that I was. And I think I brought that early on, my aggressiveness to training that way. But conversely, I've had training partners that have been less than half of my size with little or no background in sports, and they've still came in and they've actually excelled much faster than I have.
Yeah.
So, there's not really a background that's really good to have to get into the sport. I think it's more about challenging yourself and trying something different, and not being afraid to hold your own self accountable throughout your entire journey, because unless you're in a school that is really going to walk you through a customized program on what to do for the first 3 years, second 3, next 3, which is not common nowadays, then you just have to be, I wouldn't say self-motivated, but you have to be assertive enough and in tune with what's going on with you physically to help that process of learning more on your own, because so that's my short, long answer.
And I think that's going to be helpful too. I think that's fair. This last question, it's a tough one. I mean, it's one of those that how do you handle defeat or failure? How do you handle it? It could be on or off the mat. I mean, I think this one was directed more because we had a few competitions back to back. So he asked us personally how we handle when we lose.
Yeah.
But I mean, it applies. I mean, this isn't just behavior on the mat that we teach here. It's behavior on and really more so off the mat.
Yeah.
But I mean, how do you handle that?
After you're done with when you come home from a basketball game, a football game, jiu-jitsu class, or jiu-jitsu tournament, for example, one of the most common questions that we get asked is, did you win?
Yeah.
What happened? So, what?
Gosh.
And that's in every single sport.
Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
And we do it to kids from an early age. We ask them, will happen. And we're looking at them like we're about ready to say, give me a yes, we won, or did we get first place? And I think a better question to ask them and ourselves when you're, and this goes back to handling defeat, what did you learn?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you learn? And that question is going to, if you answer that question, then it helps you manage defeat in the physical workplace, in the professional workplace, much, much more. And it just changes your psychology on, because if you lose, you failed. If you learn, you won.
Yeah. And the question sets the tone for the expectation. So did you win? Because that's all that matters. Did you win or lose? Like that question. But what you learn, I mean, you can always come up with a question for that. I got at the risk of stealing the mic from you, I have a personal experience. The running joke in my household is, I spent the first, probably half of my career. Like, I don't know why, but every tournament, if the guy passed, if I didn't get on top, I would just go to Turtle. And then so Turtle, now, I avoid that situation like the plague. And the reason I do is because I essentially got called out by my instructor. He's like, yeah, I wasn't there, thank God. But he's like, Fox stayed in Turtle the whole time. And so then I looked back at the footage, and all my footage is from prior to that. I was like, I always I was so tunnel vision on gotta win. You're not zooming out enough. It's like you're tunnel visioning, and you can't see with blinders, and the answer's right next to you. So I wasn't looking on what I could learn, and so now I make it a point to always go back, win or lose. How can I learn? And that's been huge. That of always looking for improvement, whatever it is.
Right.
And as a result, once I started approaching it like that, what can I take to improve? Because if I won, if I won, I'm doing the right thing. I got, that's almost the mentality of, I'm on the right track. Keep doing what I'm doing.
Right.
Not how can I improve, and that's the battle.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important to change that.
Well, that's for anybody who does anything for a long enough time, you're going to answer that question. Is that you have to, in order to handle defeat properly, you have to change it in order how you're handling the information that's given to you. And information is going to stress you out, or information is going to learn from you.
Yeah.
Just like starting a new job. You're around new people, you're learning new systems, new cultures, and if you don't learn from them versus try to beat them or defeat them, then you're probably not going to move up in the ranks or have success at whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, that's huge.
So
do you have so those are our questions. I'm telling you, man, you always do it. You're always these are completely unscripted answers. He doesn't he gets them right before, and your answers are so, I feel like you've had a week to prep for these. Your answers are always so thoughtful and really
thanks.
helpful,
I appreciate it, Coach.
So.
Well, you know what? We've I know both of us have learned a lot over the last 12 years, and I just tell you, when I first approached Jiu Jitsu, I had somebody who was really trying to recruit me to go train. And he was on me for the longest time, okay? And I'm not going to get into it, but this is my Tae Kwon Do story about my Toledo, Ohio Tae Kwon Do story. But what happened is he was trying to recruit me for a long time, and I was in my 30s, and I peaked at my basketball prime. My endurance was through the roof. I could run, I could jump, I could shoot, I could lift. I literally could work out for hours and hours a day. I was cut up like taco lettuce, probably. But I was in really good shape.
Yeah.
And I believe that I came in better shape than almost anybody in that gym that I first started at. But what happened was I learned immediately I learned that I can't beat anybody here.
Sure.
And once it clicked in my head is that everything that I've done in my entire life is not going to help me today. I need to unlearn or forget about all my past experience and just use that to bring a work ethic to something day in and day out, or week in and week out. And I did that, and I even lost matches, like standing on my feet, and because I had a little bit of background in stand-up, and I even lost matches in the grappling because I was just so obsessed with learning.
Yeah.
I actually, for the first time in my entire life, I put winning aside, and I put competing aside, unless I was preparing for a tournament. That's a whole nother topic that we can discuss. But I put competing and winning aside, and it was all about learning, and it was actually an obsession.
Yeah.
And
I see that. I do see that. I didn't know you before, but I see that in everything. Even my family members point out, they're like, he's always thinking, like, he always looks like he's thinking about something, and I see that. Like, that's absolutely everything you do. I see you're like, how can I learn your questions? You're all about your questions. So, well, thank you so much for your time, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Great answers and value to our listeners. Guys, please help us out best you can. Subscribe to our channel. You can like it, share it. And you can also DM or email us questions of your own. That's call us up with questions, whatever. I mean, we do that as well, and we'll read them and get you answers on here. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
We hope you have enjoyed this podcast. As always, if you have any questions or anything you want to hear on our podcast, you can send those to metrobjj@gmail.com. Or perhaps you want to start your jiu-jitsu journey today and come check out our gym. We're located at 13555 Eureka Rd, Southgate, Michigan. And we're right next to Planet Fitness. Come on in. Our friendly staff will be happy to answer any of your questions and meet your goals. Talk to you soon.